Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for Tuesday, the 22nd. Hope everyone had a nice holiday weekend. It was not a holiday in Europe, but certainly in America, and the markets were closed because of it, so we'll have a little space gap for the missing day, and then we will start up again. But you can see that the close off of the previous day, we were still looking things pretty bullish. This modest move in the post hours of the holiday saw a little bit more of the orange rising, but until that really climbs above steel and creates a miniature short snake, you're still going to need to see green rolling over. And if it does roll over about this point, you're sort of at the same level it was previously. That would be problematic for longs. We would need to see a little bit of a decay and shakeout in that. But again, that's what we talked about. Above that 2635, though, there isn't a whole lot in the way until you get to 27. So it's kind of a no man's land, kind of can spread back and forth. I would expect that maybe we'd come back, try and retest the 35, would not be out of line. And this is just that slow ebb up, and we've been seeing it with the rising red DOC, but clearly in the shakeout, even from early on, the original signal there, we've stayed above with the yellow line above the magenta on the shakeouts. So it's just been a continual rise. Not bad. Same situation on the NQ. Not too much different. The euro weakness really hasn't caused a whole lot of trouble. It was a lot of that was European Brit exit situation still unresolved. So that just leaves things to where they are, which is an economy that's still improving despite everyone claiming that the end is near, and that just fuels a little bit enough shorts to do what we've been talking about. It keeps propelling things over. So we kept seeing the rising build of short covering as it just a little bit at a time. So we started off the day here in gold, moving, which generally gives us the impression we're going to be moving to the 100% level, which we did. We saw a lot of positive extremes. So there's plenty of stuff to fill back, going below some of these supports. In fact, the lower one is a little bit further down here, near the 38 level for a complete move. You can see in the post market. What happened was during the day we had a lot of cyan under red, a couple of pop-ups that came in that gave brief little moves, but ultimately saw rising red and continued all the way until the end of the day, where we finally started making lower and lower shakeout readings here at the same time, getting up to the peak levels, and then finally when we dipped well below the 15 on the extreme. There were a couple of spots even back over here where you could have started where the nice spikes of the orange. So each time that was happening, I'm looking, well, do I have anything? No, with the cyan underneath, that doesn't help. So right here, boom, big spike, green was under red was just about to break the zero at that particular point. Even if you waited a bar and you're right at the ABM yellow, I kind of like all those scenarios. And then sure enough, it broke below zero, and then the spike up of cyan there, and that led to the most precipitate, literally just came back to the 2666, which was an old number we had from way back before, and you can see we just literally supported on that. The P2 came in, first move of that, also again another gold. That happened actually below the 23, but you really want to wait for that solid pivot to give you the clear. And sure enough, that rode all the way to the peaks where it produced another dramatic start to the day. And that was the gap down that just pretty much took us right to the 66 level. So I would imagine we'll come back up and retest that within that zone area, but still not looking incredibly strong just yet. But looks like it's starting to build, only -4 on the shakeout, so not bad from that standpoint. It was interesting because I was going back through, and it was like, because I had some questions from people about various stocks. Tesla's always a popular one, and it was interesting because when you look back at that, it's like you can see here was the short snake that developed on Tesla well before the earnings, and started with the short configuration, and then right at earnings, clean short snake, everything breaking down accordingly. So the idea that you didn't know that things were going to continue to suffer, and that's exactly what they did, and it fully retraced with it dip below the red line. It went all the way down to right about here. Retested it on the little dip, came back up, which gave it some strength, but wasn't anywhere near getting to the zero level, and caved from there. So it's always interesting to look at those. Worthy notes on the 50K standpoint. This is some of the work that the long weekend provided me. What you see here are these little numbers. What they represent are the zones of the Morganacci and where price fits within them. So 1 being 0 to 23, 2 is 23.38, 3 is 38 to 50, 4 50 to 61, 5 obviously 61, and then 6 of course 76 to 100 and plus. And that's pretty much what stayed there, turned to 5. So what this does for us though is it allows us to capture where price is within the range. At the same time we're getting our various pivots of not just the DOC when they're breaking above the key levels to indicate additional strength, but it also gives us the yellow shakeout, which also can provide these similar construct, particularly when it moves above that magenta, and you can see that it starts to do it. So it's really moving along. Going back through it, when you get into some weaker areas, you can see all the ones that come in when you're down below. So it makes it very valuable in depicting when it's better to make an execution for a long trade. Obviously, when we're making new lows and things like that, absolutely not. But when we base and produce a buy signal, does it give us a point where we're breaking above previous pivot zones, indicating that even within lower areas we're getting much stronger build? Sort of your hidden view of buyers. Some people might look at a MACD divergence kind of situation with that, but this goes much more beyond that in reading the dynamic of what's there, and will certainly provide us with excellent trailing capabilities off of some of these setups, because the ABM will then reset to them and stay at the lower level until it makes a justifiable move that allows it to then catch up, as opposed to before sometimes it accelerates like this too fast comparative to what price is doing. And so that will prevent stop outs and breakouts below the ABM green, things like that, where they just turn around. So very exciting stuff as far as that goes. Constantly working to make things easier and easier as we go. So all in all, good stuff. I will continue to post relevant setups as we go, but when you have cyan under red, it's not a whole lot to do. The only thing I usually look for in those cases is right here when steel goes above cyan and then back below. Am I in a trailing situation, or is it continuing? Because usually that's just an indication that, hey, I might have a little bit of weakness that I can use to add into a setup if I really want to continue going with it. It's not that point where you're now like this, where it starts to break down and you really can say, okay, hey, I'm below everything and moving lower, but even still here, we're still well above the 15 for the magenta. If I enlarge that, see a little bit better. This is a 50K, so it just lets you know how strong that setup is. And I know from the buy strategy, it had bought way back. In fact, I can add that back in real quick. Let me just do that magic of pausing. You have to go way back for the previous start of this. Was down here at the beginning of it on this dip. Where was that? That bought all the way at 25.78, and it went all the way to 05 for a nice move, but didn't take much of that dip to recapture it again. Just a little bit at the 12, and that went all the way to 59. Slide that over so you can see it. 26.59. So pretty decent move from that characteristic. Wouldn't be surprised to see that shakeout reset and it'll get a new signal, or if this continues to break down, it will hold off until it does so. But all in all, good action. As always, though, I will keep you updated. So trade well, and we'll talk again later.